chief's belief, is that there was a spoke that really wasn't always working with us. And the chief made big effort, and along with Jennifer Joyce and the U.S. Attorney's Office, to include this last piece that I think really made a difference. And in fact, we're going to have a study done to find out if that's true, but the judges. And I know over the years I was coming in here as the 7th District, because I came to many of these meetings as representative of the 7th District. We talked about that because I would hear, well, how does the guy that we just locked up yesterday, I just saw him walking on the street. How did you guys let him out? It's, you know, and inevitably, we hear, I mean, I heard that question more than 20 times. You know, put our hands up and say, well, we don't let criminals out. We just put them in. It's somebody else's job to keep them in or let them out. And that's the judges. And so what happened is that the chief and Jennifer went about having conversations, and I think we had a very open-minded chief judge. And so what happened is they started to keep the bad guys in. The guys that really needed to be in. The guys that are carrying guns. The guys that are involved in violent crime. The guys that are perpetuating multiple crimes. You know, your burglars and your copper thieves. You know, those people that do multiple crimes, and not just one. By the time we get them, trust me, they've done a lot before we get them, because they don't stumble until they're 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time. You know, before they get careless and stumble when we get them. You know, I always said if he was really smart, the criminals are really smart. There are really smart criminals. We just don't know who they are. You know, that's the reality. You know, I mean, because hey, our laws are set up not for us to really catch a lot of bad guys. It's to give a lot of bad guys a break. That's the way they're set up. You know, we all think it's the best system in the world. It's just the one we have. But the chief and Jennifer worked with the judges, namely Judge Garvey, and came up with a system where we're all involved now. And not only are we involved in that first phase, because we have officers now who go to the bond hearings and are able to tell the judge, hey, this is what you don't know about this bad guy, and this is why we think this bad guy, this is what the neighborhood has been experiencing because of this bad guy. And so the judges start to listen. And then the other part we have going on is that we now have you, the citizens, involved in at the end of the criminal process, not just the victims who are testifying and the witnesses who are testifying are necessary to keep that bad guy or get that bad guy convicted, but we have the neighborhood has the ability and the willingness to tell the judge how that crime has impacted you. Does anybody in here know what an impact statement is? Has anybody ever had to participate in that? Besides your older woman who's late raising her hand back there, Brooks. Brooks, would you like to share with them what the impact statement is?
It's basically a letter to the judge stating what kind of impact that person has had on the neighborhood, and kind of listing maybe some examples of what it's done to the neighborhood, what efforts we're trying to do to stop that.
Exactly. And if you didn't hear that, because Brooks was quiet, the impact statement is the ability for you as citizens, and especially if you do it as a neighborhood, to say, hey, Your Honor, this is why we think this guy needs to stay in jail, okay? This is why we think the guy who's had his 3rd felony conviction doesn't deserve probation. This is why we think this guy committed this violent crime needs to stay in jail and learn a lesson. And that has made, it has been true to its definition, impact statement. It has made an impact on what the judges do. And trust me when I tell you this, I could bring in pieces of paper to show you, because what we do is when we identify a guy, the commanders are notified about what their arrest record looks like. And I can tell you, and Jimmy can tell you because he hasn't been gone that long, how many times that arrested guy has 5 felony convictions, 50 felony arrests, 25 misdemeanor arrests. That's not a rare occurrence, folks. That is not rare. That is more the norm than it is not the norm. And these guys are still getting probation. We're still getting probation. And I think the ear of the judges are wide open now because you guys have gotten involved. And there's something called the neighborhood ownership model that the chief and Jennifer Joyce have been kind of brought to the forefront and kind of been watching them flow out into some of the neighborhoods. And a big part of that, and it was really some training that we did